just at lunch, I got an email from the Joseph Roundtree Foundation. I don't know how many of you know those guys, but they're a big NGO in this country. And it had their weekly summary, and there were 2 points on it. First one is that about 20% of people in the UK still live in some form of poverty. And the second point was, we need a big idea to solve this problem. So, welcome to Universal Basic Services. It is aimed to be a big idea, and it's part of a framework to look at models for 21st century welfare. So we think that there are sort of 2 major unprecedenteds coming our way, whether we like it or not, in addition to whatever happens with climate. One is automation, which may not put everybody out of work, but it'll change work for an awful lot of people. And the other is a more aged society. Now, both of these speak to and will require us to have a much more effective social safety net than we have today. The other piece of news out this morning, if you heard it, was the National Audit Office have done an investigation on universal credit, which is the current version of modern welfare being practiced by the current system. It's way over budget and it's way behind time, and they're not going to make it work. It's a very technical solution to what is, after all, a human problem. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to lead you through a conversation. I'm not going to describe Universal Basic Services to you. You can go and get the report off the website. What I want to do is, and I think it's more interesting, is to start way back at the origins. Like, let's think about this problem from the get-go. And the first question is, well, why would you have a social security system at all? What's the point? Why don't we just go dog eat dog? So what I'd like to do to introduce you to that is to ask you to participate with me very briefly in a short thought experiment. So what I'd like you to do is sit comfortably in your chair and close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you to imagine a scenario in a moment. And what I want you to try and observe is your internal response to this scenario. So if you're ready, I would like you to imagine that you live in a world that is entirely populated with other people who are exactly the same as you. Now, if you are, like many other people that I've run this experiment for, the majority will have had a fairly negative response to imagining that scenario. And the reason is because we are all intuitively, deeply, personally, we don't need to be educated about this, aware of the fact that we prosper and succeed in a society where other people are different. That we make one contribution, but we need other people to make that other contribution as well. So, and in addition to that, there's another part to this, right, which is, of course, not everyone will actually have had that response to that scenario. But that speaks again to the fact that we're not all the same. And that's kind of the point of human society. So we start from that understanding that there are lots of different contributions to make, and that we are all capable of making our own particular individual contributions. And the whole thing hangs together as a single entity. Now, you know, some of these differences are not very big. So if we take this theatre hall as an example, right, you might have very similar opinions to someone who's proximate to you, sitting on the seat or on the bench. But across the theatre, there might be very different responses, or different abilities to perceive a situation, or different reactions to something, or different skill sets. But this is all actually part of one functional system, and we're all dependent on each other. So you could simplify that and say that there are individual contributions that people are making. But those individual contributions are dependent on the cohesion of the group, right? So we are commonly called the most cooperative species on the planet. I hear the naked mole rats may have it on us there, according to George Monbiot. But there's no point in cooperating if you're all exactly the same. Right? You don't need to cooperate. You're all going to think the same way. You're going to react the same way to every situation. Cooperation includes diversity and difference in its very definition. So there's another sort of way of looking at that, right? Which is that there is a social imperative and there is a motivational imperative. And that this is about the group at that end, and this is about the individual. And at any point in time, and one of the interesting things about life is that you actually locate yourself somewhere differently on different days, different years over time. This could be called also the standards of the political spectrum, right? So we have individuals within our society that are very keenly aware of the need for us to hold together as a group. And they are typically focused over there on what we might call the left. And then we have other individuals in our society who are really concerned about the importance of individuals and their motivation and their contribution, and where, we can't get there without these special individuals. And they're over here on the right. All of those are, in fact, valid points as long as they're all together. Most people actually end up sort of clumping somewhere in the middle, and you have an ability to sort of see both arguments. But one of the things I think that we should take away from this is that when other people are disagreeing with you, they just may be representing another point on a spectrum, the whole of which is functional. So we locate ourselves somewhere on this, someone else comes at it from a different perspective. I personally find it very helpful when I am talking to someone who has a very different perspective. Just remind myself, okay, so you're just representing an aspect of our species that is important and also needs to be integrated. I don't need to argue with you because you're just one part of the spectrum. We need both of these. And we need everybody in our society to make their contributions, right? So, the classic specialization, because that's what we're talking about here with individuals making their unique contribution, right? The soldier can't fight without the farmer doing the farming, or the engineer can't go away and design a bridge for 5 years without a plethora of other people in society filling the needs that they can't do themselves. So this is the origin of our thinking behind the fact that a functional welfare system in the 21st century has to start with this idea that we don't know where the next Stephen Hawking is going to come from. We don't know where the next Aditya Chakraborty is going to be born. We need to support everybody so that all of those individuals can bring their particular skills to us as a group. And if you look at that in terms of the context of the big changes that are coming our way, it's not good enough to just be good enough. We are, in order to survive and thrive through the changes that are coming with us, we're going to have to be performing as well as we possibly can as a society. And that means taking advantage of every individual and all of their contribution. So this is what we mean and why universal for us is an important part of this description. So the second word in the title of our report is basic. And what I want to talk about a little bit here is, basically how generous should a support system be in a human society. If we recognize, okay, everybody's got something to contribute, we don't know where they're going to be, we need to kind of keep this act together as a coherent group, but how much support do we need to provide in order to activate all of that? So this is my humorous spectrum here. So somewhere between starving children and Rolls Royces for everybody, we're going to find this balance, right? But what we have to do, yeah, it is advancing, right? We have to, on this empathetic spectrum, realize that any social security system, any safety system for society, is inevitably going to involve some people contributing so that other people can get supported. So in addition to having an empathetic eye for the people that need help, the starving children, right, we also need an empathetic concept and understanding this is just not going to happen if you also break the normal bounds of people's generosity. So, it's another aspect of you've got to take both. It's not really enough to seat yourself somewhere on the spectrum, plant your flag and say, this is where it needs to be. There's another constraint which, having just heard about the water, I think, feeds directly into this. Of course, we live in a natural environment, right? I mean, that is a constraint within which we have to operate. And I think that any sort of social organizing system that anyone's proposing for the 21st century, it has to accommodate, it has to mention, it has to pay honor to some form of confinement within the environmental constraints that are imposed on us and that exist. Right? We don't have 6 planets. So any system that is going to propose has to have a component within it that recognizes that environment. So we've got a constraint we have to pay attention to in terms of how generous people are going to be willing to be. We have a constraint of the environment. But what we would say, and what we're sort of defining in our report, is we want to get people out of this. If you want people's special contribution, they need to be out of survival mode. If someone is having to think about food, think about shelter, can't get access to healthcare, can't get water, that's what they're thinking about. They're not making their special contribution. And at that level, humans are all very similar, you know. And so if you want to have the best function out of your society, if you want to weather these unprecedented changes as well as possible, in addition to safety, which is a fairly well sort of standardized form of concept of social security, well, let's make sure people aren't starving, through to opportunity, which in Britain we've generally got there, right? We have free healthcare and we have free education. We added participation. Not just because we live in a modern tech society and I can't imagine doing the work that I do without access to a smartphone or the cellular network or the internet, but that as well. But also because participation, we live in a democracy. Democracy is not going to function if people don't feel that they're part of the solution. So, by adding that word into our definition of what our basic needs is what led us to add into a sort of relatively well-recognized set of services. We added information and transport, because people need to be able to get to the services that are provided otherwise, and people need to be able to communicate with those. So I hope that tells you something about where we got to with basic, or at least what our logical, philosophical underpinning is when we try and look at the word basic and how extensive should a service be. It's not just about physical, material rights to a healthy life, right? We are adding to that and saying it is about participation, and that leads you into a bigger thought process about what a social welfare system should look like in the 21st century. And then how do you deliver that, right? So, easily contrasted universal basic services versus universal basic income. And I know that it's very easy to think about the world as if it was defined by money. I think it's the great 20th century delusion that if we're going to make progress in the 21st century, we have to shake this off. As we turn the last century, it's very common to sort of categorize everything in terms of how much it was worth. I know that I've done this too. I said, oh, well, my hourly rate is this, and therefore I'm going to evaluate what I do this afternoon based on that sort of cost. We would argue that's actually not true. When you look down at it, particularly for the sort of underpinning of a social safety net, what we expect people to do with money is actually go out and buy services. That the social safety that we're defining in this place is much more about infrastructure, there we go, about housing, so we put shelter as part of the program, about the sort of infrastructure that defines a human society. That's how you can tell where humans are. There's this kind of infrastructure in place. Now, you don't need to go and buy an electric pylon, right? What you need is the outcome of that. So if we're having a hospital that's not staffed with people, it's the service that actually delivers you out of survival mode. And another reason we pick services, we go back to those confines that, with constraints that are on the system in the first place, is services can be much more efficient and much more environmentally sustainable. In the obvious case, it is much better for the environment that we give people access to public transport than it is that we give everybody a vehicle. So we feel that the services argument from a number of different perspectives has a much better fit. And the reason we can make that, and what I hope that you can take away from today is, don't start thinking about this stuff at the top end of exactly what the output is. Make sure that you've had an understanding of why on earth it is that you have a social safety system in the first place. And that will then guide you. Those principles, that thought process will help you make decisions about what you do, how you sort of make an arbitration in against whether one service or not is included. So that's my brief introduction. I'm not sure if I've run over or run under or any of the above. We do have this website up at UBS Hub if you want to find out more. But my implore would be that if we are going to meet these kinds of challenges, we do need a big new idea. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation is right. The existing system is not working, it's not working well enough. And we are going to need, and you particularly, and your generation, are going to need a new way of delivering this kind of service. And not just here, you know, in the advanced developed societies as well. I was just at a conference in Barcelona with people from Asia and Southeast Asia and Eastern Europe. And, you know, this is the same problem all over the world. And we're all going to have to solve it together. Thank you.